Thank you, Adam, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Like Adam said, we are going to be sharing important information about New York's paid family leave. And this webinar is going to have a specific focus on how working parents can use paid family leave to bond with their newly fostered child. So paid family leave is now fully phased in, which is very exciting, with benefits at maximum levels. Since its implementation in 2018, paid family leave benefits have been significantly enhanced to further improve the lives of working New Yorkers and their families, including providing more time off, more uses for paid family leave, and more financial security. So in today's presentation, we will start by discussing why we need paid family leave, and then cover some of the basics that you need to know, including the 3 original uses of paid family leave, an overview of the benefits, how much it costs, who is eligible, and then the steps that you need to take to request paid family leave for a newly adopted or fostered child. We will review some frequently asked questions about this type of leave, discuss information regarding paid family leave and COVID-19, point you to some helpful resources, and then leave time at the end for questions. And just a reminder, like Adam said, just submit your questions in that chat feature, and you can do this anytime throughout the presentation, but I will wait until the end to answer them. So getting started, why do we need paid family leave? For too long, employees have struggled to maintain their jobs when they need to care for a loved one during a specific time of need, whether that's welcoming a new baby, caring for a family member with a serious health condition, or dealing with family pressures when a loved one is deployed abroad on active military service. And more recently, many employees have been challenged by having to quarantine due to COVID-19 or care for a minor dependent child who is subject to a mandatory quarantine or order of isolation. Employees in these situations face the stress of losing income when they need to take time off to help their family, and also fear their job may be gone when the family situation is over. In response to these needs, New York took action, and in April of 2016, New York paid family leave was signed into law. It is employee-funded insurance that helps employees be there for their family when they're most needed. Because of paid family leave, workers across New York no longer have to choose between caring for their loved ones and their jobs, as we now have this employee-paid insurance benefit to help in these critical times. Paid family leave provides both job protection and paid time off, so you can bond with a newly born, adopted, or fostered child, care for a family member with a serious health condition, or assist loved ones when a spouse, domestic partner, child, or parent is called to active military service abroad. Paid family leave also now provides paid time off and job protection, so you can care for yourself or your minor dependent child when under a mandatory order of quarantine or isolation due to COVID-19. The order must be issued by the state of New York, the Department of Health, local board of health, or any government entity duly authorized to issue such order due to COVID-19. And we'll go into more detail on these uses later in the presentation, as they are a bit different from the other 3. In addition to paid time off, New York's paid family leave also has very strong employee protections. You are guaranteed to return to the same or a comparable job after taking paid family leave. And by comparable job, we mean one that's a position with comparable employment benefits, pay, and any other terms and conditions of your employment. You are guaranteed continuation of health insurance while out on paid family leave on the same terms as if you had continued to work. If you do contribute to the cost of your health insurance, you do have to continue paying your portion of the premium while you're on leave. And you are also guaranteed protection from discrimination and retaliation. So requesting or taking paid family leave cannot be held against you. Like I said before, today we are going to focus on using paid family leave to bond with a newly adopted or fostered child. Paid family leave provides both parents time to bond with a new child within the first 12 months of the child's adoption or foster care placement. This includes children placed in foster care in 2021, as long as the leave is taken and completed within the first 12 months of that foster care placement. Mothers and fathers, including same-sex parents, are all provided the same opportunity to bond with their child. Parents who work for different employers can take paid family leave at the same time to bond with the same child. Parents who work for the same employer can take it at the same time unless their employer prohibits it. And then in that case, they can just take leave separately over the first 12 months following the child's foster care placement. Foster children may feel like they've been abandoned and they require time to adjust to their new surroundings and their new caretakers. Constants in their lives are now questionable, and having a healthy transition time is imperative. So, paid family leave really provides you with the time that's needed to build a connection with your newly fostered child. For example, helping your foster child adapt to their new home and neighborhood, spending time together to learn about your child's past, their likes and their dislikes, and providing support and assistance with your child's transition, such as escorting your child to counseling sessions and or maybe even attending sessions with them. You may also be able to take paid family leave before a foster placement is finalized if you need to be absent from work for the placement to proceed. So, for example, maybe you need to appear in court before the foster placement, and so you would be able to take paid family leave for that. In these cases, documentation is needed to show that paid family leave is necessary to further that foster care placement. The second type of leave that may be relevant to foster families under paid family leave is caring for a family member with a serious health condition. If the child you are fostering has a serious health condition, which is defined as an illness, injury, or condition that requires either inpatient care in a hospital, hospice, or residential healthcare facility, or continuing treatment or supervision by a healthcare provider. Unlike bonding leave, family care for a foster child who has a serious health condition is not limited to within the first 12 months of that child's foster care placement. So anytime the foster care child has a serious health condition, this type of leave would be available. And keep in mind that a COVID-19 diagnosis may qualify as a serious health condition. Now let's take a look at these specific benefits that are available to you under paid family leave. And as mentioned earlier, paid family leave is now fully phased in with maximum levels of benefits. Paid family leave provides both time off and wage benefits, which were gradually phased in over a 4-year period that started in 2018. At that time, paid family leave provided 8 weeks off at 50% pay up to a cap. It's now fully phased in with eligible employees able to take up to 12 weeks of paid family leave at 67% of their average weekly wage, capped at 67% of the New York State average weekly wage. An employee's average weekly wage is based on their last 8 weeks of pay prior to taking paid family leave. For 2022, the New York State average weekly wage is $1,594.97. And something to keep in mind is that employees can take these 12 weeks off all at once, or they can take it intermittently, but it does always have to be taken in at least full day increments. To estimate your wage benefit, you can use the 2022 calculator that is available on the Paid Family Leave website. So paid family leave is fully funded through employee contributions. Each year, the Department of Financial Services sets the employee contribution rate to match the cost of coverage. In 2022, the payroll contribution is 0.511% of your gross wages each pay period, and it is capped at an annual maximum of $423.71. If you do earn less than the statewide average weekly wage, then you will contribute less than the annual cap, and your contribution will be consistent with what your actual wages are. To estimate your deduction, we also have a payroll deduction calculator that is available on the Paid Family Leave website. So looking at some of the updates for 2022, the maximum weekly benefit increased from $971.61 in 2021 to $1,068.38 in 2022. And as of January 1st, 2022, employers could continue to deduct at the rate of 0.511% of an employee's gross wages each pay period, but the annual maximum did increase to $423.71. In 2021, the annual maximum cap was $385.84. Now that we have covered the types of leave, the benefits, and the costs, let's discuss who is covered and eligible for paid family leave. Most employees who work for private employers in New York State are covered under paid family leave. If you work for a public employer, your employer may opt into the program. And if you are a public employee who is represented by a union, you may be covered if paid family leave is collectively bargained. For covered employees, your eligibility for taking paid family leave depends on meeting specific requirements for the amount of time you have worked for your employer. So full-time employees, meaning those who work 20 or more hours per week, are eligible for paid family leave after 26 consecutive weeks of employment with the same employer. Part-time employees, meaning those who work fewer than 20 hours per week, are eligible after working 175 days, which do not need to be consecutive. Citizenship and/or immigration status is not ever a factor in employee eligibility. Governor Hochul recently signed an amendment to the workers' compensation law, which expands coverage for domestic workers. So previously, domestic workers were only required to be covered if they worked at least 40 hours per week for their employer. As of January 1st, 2022, domestic workers who are hired directly by a private homeowner and who work 20 or more hours a week for the private homeowner are required to be covered for paid family leave. And these workers are eligible once they have been in employment with that employer for 26 consecutive weeks. Also, effective January 1st, 2023, siblings will be included in family members eligible to receive family care under paid family leave. Paid family leave coverage is not optional for eligible employees. You can waive coverage if you work 20 or more hours per week, but you won't be in employment for 26 consecutive weeks. So, for example, you are a seasonal worker, you are hired just for the summer, so you are only going to work 3 months out of the year. You will not be employed for 26 consecutive weeks. You would be able to waive coverage. The other time you could waive coverage is if you work fewer than 20 hours per week, but you won't work 175 days within a 52-week period. If you do meet the criteria for waiving coverage, your employer must provide you with a waiver form, which we do have available on the Paid Family Leave website. If you do waive coverage, you will not make any contributions, and you will also not be eligible for paid family leave benefits. Employers should keep a copy of your waiver on file. If you have a schedule change such that you no longer qualify for a waiver, so you were hired as a seasonal worker, but then your employer was so impressed with you that they decided to keep you on for the rest of the year as a full-time employee. So now you will be employed for 26 consecutive weeks. So within 8 weeks of your schedule change, the waiver will be automatically revoked. And keep in mind, you can also voluntarily revoke a waiver at any time. If your waiver is revoked because you voluntarily revoked it or because your schedule changed, your employer will then begin taking paid family leave contributions, and they can also collect any retroactive amounts that are due for the time that the waiver was in place. Next, we are going to cover how to request paid family leave for bonding with your newly fostered child, and also go over how disputes and discrimination issues are handled. As I've mentioned a couple times now, paid family leave is fully phased in. If you are an eligible employee, keep in mind that the maximum benefit, so those 12 weeks, are available to you once every 52-week period, and it is a rolling period. It's not a calendar period. So when you're ready to request leave to care for bonding with your newly fostered child, there are 3 basic steps. Step 1 is to notify your employer at least 30 days before the start of your leave if it's foreseeable, or notify them as soon as possible if it's not foreseeable. Step 2 is to complete the required request forms. And step 3 is to send all of the required forms to the paid family leave insurance carrier. That insurance carrier must then pay or deny your request within 18 calendar days of receiving the completed request, or within 18 calendar days of your first day of leave, whichever is later. This is really important. You must submit your completed request package to your employer's insurance carrier within 30 days after the start of your leave to avoid losing benefits. So if my first day of leave is today, I have 30 days from today to submit my completed application to my employer's insurance carrier. So we're going to walk through these 3 steps a little bit more in depth for you. So step 1 again is to inform your employer. Let your employer know at least 30 days before. So now if today's my first day of leave, I had 30 days before today that I needed to inform my employer if it was a foreseeable leave. So maybe you knew that there was going to be an appointment that was happening today. So 30 days ago, you should have notified your employer that today you were going to need to take paid family leave. If you don't know the dates that you need to take leave because maybe it's unexpected, just give them notice as soon as possible. Like maybe it's a last minute foster placement. Just make sure you notify your employer as soon as possible. The next step is completing those required leave forms. For bonding leave, your request will contain 2 forms. The first one is the request for paid family leave, or form PFL1, which gives your insurance company information about you. The second form is the bonding certification, which is form PFL2, and that requires information to confirm that a foster placement has occurred or will occur. You can get the paid family leave request forms from your employer, your employer's insurance carrier, or directly from the paid family leave website. And the direct link is paidfamilyleave.ny.gov/forms. Looking at the request for paid family leave, or form PFL1, every employee who is requesting paid family leave starts with this form. It asks for basic information about you and the leave that you want to take, and has a section for your employer to complete as well. You will submit this form to your employer's insurance carrier along with other completed forms for the type of leave that you are taking. Form PFL1 has two parts. You are responsible for filling out Part A, and your employer is responsible for filling out Part B. The first section of Part A covers your personal information, including your address, your social security number or tax identification number, and your date of birth. You must also state why you are requesting the leave and how it pertains to you. Next, indicate if you expect your leave to be a continuous period or intermittent. You may not know all of the dates for certain, so you can indicate that they are estimated and then just make sure you update both your employer and the paid family leave insurance carrier if a change is needed. Finally, you must provide information about your employment, including your employer's location and phone number, your date of hire, your average gross weekly wage, whether or not you have more than one employer, if you are taking paid family leave from the other employer, and if you are currently receiving workers' compensation lost wage benefits. You then need to sign and date Part A of the form and give it to your employer, who will then complete Part B of the form. Before you give this form to your employer, make sure that you make a copy of it, just in case. So always make sure you make a copy of it before you give it over to your employer. Your employer then has 3 business days to fill out Part B of Form PFL1 and return it back to you. If your employer does not return the form within the 3 business days, you can still proceed with your paid family leave request. So next, you're going to complete the bonding certification, which is Form PFL2. You will need to provide information about the fostered child, including their date of birth, whether the child lives with you, and then evidence of your relationship to the child. Along with the bonding certification form, you must provide proof of your relationship to the child with supporting documentation in the form of a letter of placement issued by the county or city Department of Social Services or local volunteer agency. If the employee is not named in that placement document, then submit a copy of the document evidencing the placement and then also a second document verifying the relationship to the parent who is named in the document. So, for example, maybe a marriage certificate or civil union documents or domestic partnership documents. Step 3 is to send all of your completed forms to your employer's insurance carrier. Before you submit the forms, make sure again that you have made a copy of both Form PFL1 and Form PFL2 just in case. And then you will submit the Form PFL1 and Form PFL2 to your employer's paid family leave insurance carrier or directly to your employer if they are an approved self-insured employer. It's really important that you are on top of your forms and that you send them to the carrier. It is not your employer's responsibility to send them to the insurance carrier. It is your responsibility. So make sure you have copies and make sure that you send the completed forms. If the carrier's address is not on the form, which it should be in Part B, question 13 of the Form PFL1, but if for some reason it's not on there, you can ask your employer or you can contact the Paid Family Leave Helpline at 844-337-6303 for assistance. And then the insurance carrier must pay or deny within 18 calendar days of receiving your completed request or within 18 calendar days of the first day of leave, whichever is later. If for some reason your paid family leave request is denied or you have another claim related dispute, maybe you disagree with the amount of benefits that you are receiving, then you may request to have the denial or the dispute reviewed by a neutral arbitrator. Your insurance carrier or your employer, if they're an approved self-insured employer, will notify you of the reason for denial and also provide you with information about requesting arbitration. Arbitration for paid family leave is handled by NAM, National Arbitration and Mediation, and you can find more information on arbitration on NAM's website. As I briefly mentioned earlier, your employer may not discriminate against you for requesting or taking paid family leave, and you are guaranteed job protection with the same or a comparable job upon return from paid family leave. If your employer does not return you to your same or comparable job, terminates you, reduces your pay and or benefits, or disciplines you in any way as a result of you requesting or taking paid family leave, then you can file a discrimination claim with the Workers' Compensation Board. An administrative law judge will review your claim, and if you are successful, they may order an employer to reinstate you, pay lost wages, pay attorney's fees, and pay up to $500 in penalties. The full discrimination process and all of the forms are available on the website, which is paidfamilyleave.ny.gov, or you can always call the Paid Family Leave Helpline for assistance. That number again is 844-337-6303, and we'll have that on a slide later on as well. There are a few frequently asked questions about paid family leave and other leave policies that might be helpful for you to know. One of the big ones that we get is how are paid family leave and the Federal Family and Medical Leave Act similar? So there are a lot of similarities between the two benefits. They both provide leave for bonding with a child, caring for a family member with a serious health condition, and assisting when a family member is deployed on active military service abroad. You're also guaranteed that you'll return to the same or comparable position and that your health insurance will continue on the same terms as if you had continued to work. But there are a number of key differences, a big one being that New York's paid family leave is paid and FMLA is not paid. Almost all private employers will carry paid family leave insurance. FMLA is not an insurance product, and it does have a 50 employee threshold for eligibility. The length of time that you have to work is also different. So just as a reminder for paid family leave, if you work 20 or more hours a week, you have to be in employment for 26 consecutive weeks. And if you work fewer than 20 hours per week, you have to work 175 days for the same employer before you are eligible for paid family leave. For FMLA, you must have worked for a full year and 1,250 hours in the last 52 weeks to qualify. Another really big distinction is that under New York's paid family leave, you can't take leave for your own serious health condition. Under FMLA, you can. Paid family leave is only taken in full day increments. You can take FMLA hourly. And then also under paid family leave, you do not need to use your other paid time off first. So how does New York's paid family leave work with other maternity, paternity leave policies that your employer might already have in place? To be compliant with the paid family leave law, covered employers must have coverage for at least 12 weeks of paid family leave at 67% of an employee's pay, up to the statewide cap for 2022. Employers are always free to supplement paid family leave with additional benefits if that's something that they'd like to do. Employers can add to those benefits up to a maximum of an employee's full wages. Just keep in mind that the combined benefit from the employer and from the paid family leave policy cannot exceed an employee's full wages. And employers can require paid family leave run concurrently, so at the same time, with the employer's own maternity or paternity leave policy. If you're not sure how paid family leave is going to interact with your employer's existing policy, then just check with them on that. So what if the child who is being fostered is not an infant? So there is no age limit on taking paid family leave to bond with a fostered child. Just remember to keep in mind that the bonding leave must be completed within the first year of the child's foster care placement. I briefly mentioned earlier that there are two additional uses of paid family leave that took effect under emergency legislation that was signed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The legislation allows for a combination of New York paid family leave and disability benefits if you are under an order of mandatory or precautionary quarantine or isolation due to COVID-19. This is the only time that you may receive paid family leave and disability benefits at the same time. So in other instances, like for example, bonding, which we've been talking about, if someone gives birth, typically they are going to be eligible for both short-term disability and paid family leave, but for bonding, they wouldn't be able to take those benefits at the same time. So COVID leave is the only time that you can receive disability and paid family leave at the same time. The legislation also gives you access to paid family leave if your minor dependent child is under an order of mandatory or precautionary quarantine or isolation due to COVID-19. So the benefits that are available to you for your own order of quarantine or isolation are going to vary depending on the size of your employer. So I'm just going to walk through the different employer sizes and the benefits that would be available to you. Most employees who work for an employer with 10 or fewer employees who had a business net annual income of less than $1 million in the previous year can use a combination of paid family leave and disability benefits. So you would be eligible for your paid family leave benefit, which is 67% of your average weekly wage, up to a maximum benefit of $840.70 a week. And then you would be able to receive disability benefits up to your full wages for but it'd be a maximum weekly disability benefit of $2,043.92, and that's for a total of $2,884.62 per week. There is no waiting period for either benefit, and you do have job protection for the duration of the quarantine. So the next size employer is medium employers. For most employees who work for an employer with 11 to 99 employees and smaller employers, meaning 1 to 10 employees that had a business net annual income of greater than $1 million in the previous year, your employer is required to provide at least 5 days of COVID-19 paid sick leave. This paid sick leave is in addition to any other paid sick leave or sick accruals or paid time off that the employer provides. It is separate, specific COVID-19 paid sick leave days. After that, if you are still under an order of quarantine or isolation, then eligible employees would be able to use paid family leave, receiving 67% of their wages up to a maximum weekly benefit of $840.70. And then after that, you could receive disability benefits up to your full wages, but with a maximum of $2,043.92. And then again, that gives you a combined total maximum benefit of $2,884.62 per week. Again, no waiting period for any of the benefits, and you do have job protection for the duration of the quarantine. Next employer size is large employers. So for most employees who work for an employer with 100 or more employees, as well as all public employees, your employer is required to provide you with up to 14 days of COVID-19 paid sick leave when you are under an order of quarantine or isolation. And this should cover the entire period of your order of quarantine or isolation. So you do not have access to those combined disability and paid family leave benefits that we were just talking about, and you will have job protection for the duration of your quarantine. If you need to take leave for your minor dependent child's order of quarantine or isolation, eligible employees might be able to receive paid family leave benefits, receiving 67% of your pay up to a maximum weekly benefit of $840.70. More detailed information about taking paid family leave for your order of quarantine or for your minor dependent child's order of quarantine can be found at paidfamilyleave.ny.gov/COVID-19. There, you'll also find information about New York State COVID-19 paid sick leave requirements, frequently asked questions, application forms, and more. As you think about how paid family leave may be able to help you and your family, there are many resources available to assist you. Complete details on paid family leave are available at paidfamilyleave.ny.gov, along with other resources, including paid family leave request forms and fact sheets, weekly deduction and benefit calculators, and information about COVID-19 quarantine leave benefits. You can also contact the Paid Family Leave Helpline at 844-337-6303 for assistance. It is open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And if you are not already subscribed for email updates on paid family leave, including information on upcoming webinars, you can subscribe by clicking Get Updates on the bottom of the paidfamilyleave.ny.gov homepage. And thank you all so much for the opportunity to discuss New York's landmark paid family leave with you. We are going to use the rest of the time to take your questions. Just keep in mind that I can't provide any legal advice. So if you're asking a very specific question about your situation, I'm not going to be able to answer in detail about whether you specifically would be eligible for benefits, but I can provide general information about what the rules for paid family leave are. Just going to turn it back over to Adam quickly.
All right, thank you, Quinn. And yes, we are going to take the rest of your time to answer any questions you may have. Just want to mention a couple things real quick. Again, first of all, please make sure your phone lines remain muted. We'll be using the chat feature. And also, when you're entering your questions, make sure the drop-down has it being sent to all panelists, not just the host. That way, Quinn and I can both see them. There will be a copy of the PowerPoint on our website, and we will also be putting a recorded version of this webinar on our YouTube page. As Quinn had mentioned, just make sure you're signed up for email notifications to receive that. I'm going to put the information on your screen there so you can see that. And that way, when those are available, you'll be notified. So I see some questions coming in now, so we're going to take a brief period of silence to review what's coming in, and Quinn will be back with you shortly. Thank you.
So the first question is New York looking to have an end date for the COVID paid sick leave days since COVID has become less prevalent? So the legislation that was passed in March of 2020 did not contain an end date. So as of right now, as long as there are still orders of quarantine and isolation, there will still be the COVID-19 quarantine leave benefits available. The next question is, are the 14 days COVID pay, is that total for the year? Do we have to offer it every time the person is under an order of quarantine or isolation? So the COVID-19 quarantine leave benefits are available for up to 3 orders of quarantine or isolation. And the second and third do have to be based on a positive COVID-19 test. Next question is, can a parent take paid family leave to care for a child who has given birth and who has medical complications? So one of the reasons that you can take paid family leave is to care for a family member with a serious health condition, and children are family members who you can take care for. So if your child does have a serious health condition and a healthcare provider certifies that they have a serious health condition, then you would be able to take paid family leave to care for them. Next question is, can employees request paid family leave for mental health related diagnoses? And so sort of the same answer. If someone has a healthcare provider who is certifying that they have a serious health condition, including if it's a mental health related serious health condition, then as long as it's certified, then the employee would be able to take paid family leave to care for that person. Next question, if an employee wants to use their own paid time off while on paid family leave, are they able to do this up to their normal earnings? Yes. So an employee can choose to supplement the paid family leave benefit that they receive from the insurance carrier with their own time off if the employer allows them to do so. Just again, keep in mind that you can't exceed more than 100% of your wages while you're on paid family leave. Next question, in a rolling 12-month period, can an employee take paid family leave to bond with a child and also federal FMLA to care for themselves? It is possible, yes. So if an employee is taking paid family leave for something that also would qualify for the federal FMLA, the employer can require that the leaves run at the same time. But like you point out, New York paid family leave is not available for your own serious health condition. So it is possible that an employee within the same 52-week period would need to use federal FMLA to care for their own serious health condition, and then later on would also need to use bonding to care for a newly born, adopted, or foster child. And since none of their paid family leave would have been used to care for their own serious health condition, they would have paid family leave available for that bonding. The next question is, how does the employee pay their contribution for the health insurance while on paid family leave? So that is up to the employer. The paid family leave law and regulations don't address how the premium should be paid, just that the employee does need to continue paying their portion. So it's going to be up to the employer whether the employee does so while they're on leave or whether when they come back, that contribution is collected from the employee. Follow-up question on the interaction of paid family leave and FMLA. What if the employee doesn't want paid family leave and FMLA to run together? Can they request that? You can request it, but the employer can require that you take the two leaves at the same time if you are eligible for both leaves. The 3 orders of quarantine or isolation that you are eligible to take benefits for, that's for your own order of quarantine or isolation. So you can take it for your own order of quarantine or isolation for up to 3 orders, with the second and third being based on a positive test.
All right, thank you. So with that, again, we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you to Quinn for taking the time. Also want to let you know we will be having a webinar on June 2nd to go over paid family leave for bonding in general. I know today was mostly focused on foster care and adoption, but the June 2nd one will be focused on bonding for a newborn as well. So if you or someone you may know may be interested in that, you can look on our calendar on the paid family leave website, and you can add that to your calendar. And there, again, registration is not required for that either. And as mentioned, you can also sign up to receive paid family leave news, including information on future webinars, straight to your inbox. To sign up, just visit the paid family leave website, scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, and select Get Paid Family Leave Updates. We do also distribute information via social media, so please be sure to follow the Workers' Compensation Board on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Again, thank you all for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.